Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great having you on the channel. We're going to be looking at two areas out here into the MDR of the Atlantic as the tropics actually are heating back up. Could we see a couple tropical storms and hurricanes forming out of this? We'll get into all the details for you, see what the tropics hold, and all your weather forecasts. Will these impact land? Let's get into it. Looking out here into the MDR of the Atlantic, yep, there's our two areas. You can see this one, this is Invest 92L. This is the most promising. It is pretty much going to become our next named storm, Gabrielle, and then this system just coming off the coast of the Cape Verde area, off the coast of Africa, that is potentially our next tropical system. And just going over here into the Eastern Caribbean, look at this big ball of moisture. This is a little tropical wave just northeast of the Virgin Islands here. Showers and thunderstorms moving through Dominican Republic as well as Jamaica. Look at that. So let's start off with the tropics here, our GFS, and then I'll show you in a couple minutes the European run. So here is our Invest 92L. It's likely to be Gabrielle here pretty shortly. So look at this. It's going to wind up pretty quickly as we head through 5 a.m. on the 18th. So we're heading through Thursday here. You can see the storm winding up. The next storm behind it here has a less chance. You can see right around 20% through day 7. So that's something we'll watch. It is a pretty strong tropical wave. Now, this run of the GFS has this storm, Invest 92L, staying a little bit weaker and further to the southwest. So that's a development we'll have to keep an eye on. You can see the trough just to the west here, this old stalled boundary. And then we start to intensify. You do start to see here, it starts to form an eye just south of Bermuda here, right around September 22nd. So that's looking pretty interesting here. As it does strengthen, you know these usually do curve. High pressure is trying to build westward by this point, though. So that's going to be interesting. We do have a coastal low over here. So how close this gets to Bermuda, at least on this run, previous runs were a little further to the east. So we'll keep an eye on it here. If I just back up with our second system, you can see it trying to develop here east of the Lesser Antilles, and we'll get into more of that. But you can see as this gets onto the tail end of this front, as it blasts past the east part of Bermuda through the 25th, you can see this really merging and becoming a serious extratropical system as it pushes a massive front through the Azores here. So that's going to become a massive North Atlantic low. So our second storm out here, before we get into more of the Caribbean and the Gulf here. So as we continue through time, you can see this trying to form into something. This out ahead of it is that first tropical wave. That's going to move through the Lesser Antilles as we get through right around the 25th, 24th. There it is. Doesn't look like that's going to develop as of yet. But this second system behind it, you can see trying to form into something through the 23rd, 24th. We'll watch it here. It does try to close off the low a couple times, so it is quite possible it could be our next tropical system. So thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our European tropical model analysis. Here is our Invest 92L out here. Likely our next tropical storm very, very shortly. It's going to be developing here pretty quick, if not Wednesday into Thursday. And look at this, our next storm behind it as well with the Cape Verde area, clipping some of those areas with some gusty winds and showers. So as we continue through Friday here, September 19th, you can see this strengthening into potentially a hurricane just southeast of Bermuda here. It is being steered by this retreating high up here and this trough of low pressure. It's going to help spin this to the northeast. Now, what about our weaker storm out here? So right around September 23rd, you can see this is bumping up against the high. It's right between Bermuda and the Azores here. So it kind of starts pushing more towards the northeast as it really intensifies into a 954 millibar low. European model, if we just back up, kind of loses this area of low pressure. You have to keep in mind there is a lot of hostile dry air and wind shear in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that's going to continue to be a thing here. So as we continue to go through time, you can see it here. It's a big ball of moisture, but no low-level, low-pressure circulation here. Intertropical convergence zone, we're slowly losing it here as it bounces to the south, and that's going to happen as we stretch towards September 28th here. All of this going on here, we're going to zoom in on this momentarily, but we got some activity, homegrown activity. We could be looking at the tail end of this front, also here into the Western Gulf and in the Eastern Caribbean as well. So we'll continue to watch it through October 1st here. Things could get a little bit more active in the homegrown areas. So for the rest of the tropics here, looking at our northwestern Caribbean, this is associated more with that stalled frontal boundary, focusing deep tropical moisture. That will be on the move through parts of the Bahamas by the 19th into the 20th. We get into the weekend. Now, there's our system northeast of the islands. Things do start to clear out a little bit here through Jamaica, Dominican Republic. We will have those daily showers and thunderstorms kicking in. Also, parts of Central America look pretty good through early next week with some clearing. However, this next tropical wave will be approaching the Lesser Antilles. We'll have to watch out for some gusty showers and thunderstorms through the 24th here, so watch out. But for the most part, that is the only show in town here into the Caribbean. Much of the rest of the Caribbean is just seeing some scattered showers and some afternoon thunder showers. Now, this feature across the Gulf, this is the one that I'll show you on the Euro that's further west and stronger, more towards Texas, hint, hint. However, the GFS is weaker and further to the east towards the north central Gulf. So this is something we'll keep an eye on through the 26th into the 27th. We're also watching this next tropical wave pivot towards Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic area, and that's going to push heavier showers and thunderstorms towards the Jamaica area through September 28th, and another cluster of showers and thunderstorms we'll have to keep an eye on in the Gulf. And here we are into the Caribbean, Gulf, Central America. So as we continue through time here, ultimately you can see what's going to be happening. A lot of wet weather. And that's going to help with the heat situation if you've been dry as of late. So we go through Friday into Saturday here. Look at this. You can see there is a stalled out frontal boundary here across the southern Gulf, through South Florida into the northern Bahamas. Also some showers and thunderstorms continuing across Dominican Republic, Jamaica, all the way through Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula here, down and through Honduras. Yeah, look at that, through Sunday. So we're kind of socked in here. Eastern Pacific going like crazy here with these tropical storms. But as we continue to go, look at this. We do start to clear out right around September 22nd. We're going to have to watch something here on the tail end of this old frontal boundary. Also a tropical wave, what's left of our potential next system moving into the Eastern Caribbean. This starts to move towards Jamaica and the Dominican Republic by the 25th. You can see it right here. And another one behind it. This one looks a little bit more in line with the Virgin Islands. But here it is, Sunday, September 28th. Right around this area into the north central Caribbean, we have that old frontal boundary. And look what's trying to spin up here into the western Gulf. We may have some sort of positive signal here for a tropical system along the Texas coast. We'll keep an eye on it here. Also along the Bahamas area, we'll be watching this, and a strong tropical wave October 1st here just east of the Lesser Antilles. Looking at Invest 92LR, thanks to Tropical Tidbits here. Yeah, we are looking at this likely become a tropical storm, and there's a lot of models now hinting at Category 1 and even a few Category 2, Category 3, and some rarities here up towards Category 4. Sea surface temperatures across the North Atlantic here. Gulf is on fire, a little bit cooler up here due to upwelling around the Panhandle of Florida. But look at the Caribbean, Western Atlantic here. We're looking much, much warmer. That's going to feed some potential tropical activity as we head towards the end of the month. And getting in here into the Western Caribbean, Central America, parts of the Gulf. Yeah, we're lighting up here with those tropical waves, that stalled frontal boundary here. Parts of Cancun, right around 60, 70 millimeters down to Belize, Honduras, through about Monday. And then look at this, the surge into the Western Gulf. That's what we're going to watch for. Positive signals. Also a tropical wave potentially developing right around Jamaica as we head towards the end of the month. Some of these locations could see up to 100, 125 millimeters, 150. Dominican Republic, a little bit less, 60 to 120 millimeters on average. And look at Puerto Rico here in St. Croix. You're right around 60, 70 millimeters. That'll net you around 1.5 inches, close to 2.5 inches. And here we go into the Western Caribbean. We're watching those tropical downpours continuing through the weekend. Parts of Dominican Republic, Jamaica, a little bit lesser amounts here into the Cayman Islands. Look at parts of Belize and the Yucatan Peninsula here, upwards of 60 to 100 millimeters. Northern Honduras, yeah, 150, 175 millimeters there. Parts of West Central Dominican Republic as well. Through the 26th here, yeah, we're looking at rainfall amounts right around 90, 120 millimeters. Jamaica here, lots of widespread 80 to 90 millimeter amounts. And here we go, looking into the Eastern Caribbean. Tropical wave moving through parts of the Northeast Caribbean islands. This is ahead of our Invest 92L out here, which is still slated to go well to the north and to the east. But as we get later in the month, look at these surges of tropical moisture. Trinidad, Tobago, all the way up St. Vincent, Barbados, all the Virgin Islands up here. You're going to start to get into these 60, 80, close to 90 to 100 millimeters in some of these areas as these gusty tropical waves move through. We'll watch for development. Look at the Bahamas, though. 200 to 300 millimeters here. That'll net you probably right around 4 to 6.5, close to 7 inches in some areas. And here we are getting into the Eastern Caribbean. You can see there's our big Invest 92L, probably a tropical storm by this point. Eastern Caribbean, we're going to watch that tropical wave move through. Looks like about 40 to 60 millimeters on average. And then another one right around the 24th, 25th of the month moving through the Lesser Antilles. This model run has the Trinidad Tobago area missing out for the most part, 20 to 40 millimeters, but much more 60 to 80 millimeters further up the island chain here with Puerto Rico, right around close to 2 inches, 2.5 inches on average. So for future radar here, what is going on here across the mid-Atlantic? We have that low pressure, that coastal low that was affecting eastern North Carolina. That's going to push some rain up through Norfolk and Washington, D.C. area. Eventually Atlantic City as we head towards 8 a.m. here as we stretch on into your Wednesday. That's going to pinwheel some showers. This is going to be some much needed rainfall up here. It's not going to be like widespread, but where these bands do set up, you are going to get those clouds and showers. It's going to be really close for you up in the Scranton, Binghamton area, the Catskills. If I just back this up just momentarily, noon hour on Wednesday, you can see those showers and thunder showers pivoting into parts of the lower Hudson Valley, the Catskills, down and through the Poconos, New York City as well, all the way up to Boston by 11 p.m. on your Wednesday. You can see this low does try to crank up the coast as we head towards 11 a.m. on Thursday. You can see it trying to head out to sea here. So other than that, if we go down here to Florida, you can see those showers and thunderstorms bubbling up throughout your Wednesday. That's going to continue into South Florida through the rest of the afternoon on Wednesday here into the overnight hours into early Thursday morning. You can see those showers and thunderstorms pretty prevalent here right around Miami up to West Palm Beach. The plains, yeah, you'll be dealing with some storminess as well. Bouts of showers and thunderstorms and some severe weather complexes. Severe weather outlook for your Wednesday, just pretty much here into parts of southeastern Ohio, northeastern New Mexico. And as we continue on into your Thursday, this is what we're looking at. No severe weather, just generalized thunderstorms. All right, everybody, we're looking at the lower 48 rainfall amounts here, picking up where our ERRR future radar left off. As we look into Thursday into Friday, it's South Florida. We'll be watching off the coast here for some rain showers. Now, look at this next system. It is trying to plow a little bit to the east here. We'll see some showers and thunderstorms breaking out around Illinois, Indiana through the 21st here. But it's going to be running into this area of high pressure just to the east, so watch out. We may have these bouts of showers and thunderstorms moving through parts of the lakes into the northern parts of New England here. But look at that. For the most part, it doesn't look like much through the 22nd. We do have another disturbance, a coastal low, trying to form around the Outer Banks here in eastern Virginia. We'll watch for that. And look at this, right around the 24th, probably Ohio's best chance of rain I've seen in a while, although it doesn't look like much. We will see some bouts of heavier rain at times through the 24th into the 25th as this front does try to strengthen as it moves into New York, Pennsylvania, right around the 25th into the 26th. We do see another disturbance dropping down through parts of the lakes, and this one could actually pack a punch. Look at some of these stronger thunderstorms moving through parts of Pennsylvania, New York here, and into parts of New England. So we'll watch out for that. Deep tropical moisture continuing to flow on the southern end of this boundary across the Gulf into Florida. And watch out, a potential coastal by about the time of the 28th. All right, so here we are with our European run, picking up where our future radar left off. You can see that low pressure off the coast moving out to sea and weakening. Our next system out here into the plains, that is going to be diving to the southeast here as we head throughout Sunday. It looks like high pressure is pretty much in control of much of the east as we continue through early next week. You can see there it is right around Monday into Tuesday. You can see these showers and thunderstorms just continuing. Actually, we skipped wow. There we go. So look at this. Tuesday of next week into Wednesday the 24th. Look at this. Let me just back up here a sec. You can see this line of showers and thunderstorms. Things are going to get pretty stormy here throughout parts of the Ohio Valley. This could be some good news for some good rainfall through the 24th, the 25th, and even into the 26th. You see this upper level low just camping out here. Also, stretch of tropical moisture. And we'll have to watch out. These tropical systems here into the eastern Pacific could bring up some moisture towards Texas. But here we go. As we head towards the end of the month, we do have another low pressure diving south. And there it is. There's that area of low pressure. Potential tropical low moving into Texas on the Euro. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Could that head inland? And here we are with precipitation totals on the European model. Look at parts of the mid-Atlantic here, especially extreme northeastern North Carolina, eastern Virginia, Delmarva area, and up into southern New England, eastern Pennsylvania. We'll zoom in on this momentarily, but there it is. Yeah, we're looking at a coastal system here. South Florida getting clipped as well. And as we go through time, Texas, if we get that tropical system later in the month, yeah, we could be looking at some significant totals. However, we have a lot of time to watch this if this does unfold. South Florida, 3, 5, 6 inches. Outer Banks, probably another 1 to 2, maybe as high as 3 inches. Look at Norfolk here, 4.5 inches. And then up the coast, Atlantic City, just south of you, Cape May area, look at that, right around 5 inches. So some of these areas, if we just take just this coastal low, these next 24, 36, 48 hours, some of these areas could see up to an inch or two. So some beneficial rain moving in as we just continue through time. There it is. There is the trend. A little bit stormier come the end of the month of September. So here we are with the latest GFS run with precipitation totals. You can see South Florida getting into 2 to 3 inch amounts. Parts of Norfolk area, look at that, 3, 4 inches. A little bit less, 1/4 to 1/2 an inch up the coast. Lighter amounts here on the GFS. Another coastal low right around, look at that, next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. So kind of a little repeat. Outer Banks getting, wow, close to 2, 3, 4, 5 inches. We'll have to watch for that possibility. And then look at Florida. Yeah, this GFS has the Gulf system a little bit further to the east than Texas here. So that'll be interesting. We'll also get in on the act here into parts of Florida. Some areas getting upwards of 2, 4, maybe 5 inches. And before we continue with more weather coverage, don't forget, smash that like button, everyone. If you made it this far, it really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions and comments and respond. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, bell, notification button. Let's chug our way towards 30K subscribers. And I am working on my winter 2025-26 outlook, so be sure to check for that out shortly. Let's continue. Here's our NAO index. We are actually staying negative now. That is a big change, which means stormier conditions are going to potentially be a problem. Let's take a look at the MJO. MJO is kind of all over the chart here. You can see we're right about, I know it's really hard to see. We're somewhere in here, right around 1 or 2. We're going to kind of meander all over the place, so we're almost kind of neutral. So it's kind of a toss-up at this point, whether we're going more active. You can see there is more yellow going this direction, though, which would indicate more quieter, which is kind of negating the NAO index. And looking at our upper air pattern, yeah, that cutoff low continues along the U.S. East Coast. And then we get more of a trough towards the 19th. You see that up and down the East Coast here, Northeast Canada. And then you see our tropical systems kind of spinning out around this ridge of high pressure. And a ridge starts to build across the east. Here into the Western Pacific, what is going on out here? We got lots of high pressure throughout Japan and South Korea. That's going to give way to a cold front moving through Japan, so that's going to bring some heavier rain through the 18th and 19th. We do have the potential flare-up for a few tropical systems trying to flare up here east of Hong Kong and heading into Taiwan as well. This next system holds more promise. As it blasts towards Taiwan, it may become a super typhoon by the 21st here. Also, another front moving through Japan, helping to protect Japan from stuff like this. Look at this. This could be a pretty sizable typhoon. Could become very close to the northern Philippines, Taiwan, or even South China here, moving in just east of Hong Kong around the 24th. So that's a development we'll keep an eye on. Look at South Korea and Japan. Another big system moving in from Asia here. That's going to blast some rainfall. And then look at out here. We just have these systems just lining up one right after another. So we're going to be watching for the possibility that we start to get into some big typhoon action out here through the 27th. You can see them just lining up, another tropical system making landfall kind of in that same location as just a couple days ago with that typhoon right around just east of Hong Kong, Taiwan area, and another area trying to develop out here. A little bit clearing up here into parts of Japan, protecting you from those typhoons, though. And looking at the Western Pacific here, yeah, rainfall amounts in the northern Philippines, you're getting clipped. Also through about the 20th, 21st, Japan and South Korea, you're really lighting up here with some heavy rain and moisture. Look at this. Some parts of Taiwan up to 500 to 600 millimeters into the northern Philippines, South China as well, Vietnam. And as we head up into Japan, a little bit lighter amounts here. Some of you may approach 250 millimeters. Seoul, South Korea, right around 43 millimeters. Tokyo, right around about the same here. So quarter to a half an inch. Pretty interesting. And here we are for the GFS into Canada. Look at this. So as we put this into motion, it starts out quiet most of Canada, with exception of this system moving through Quebec and eastern Ontario. Look at this next system, though, moving into northwestern British Columbia. This is a system we'll have to keep a close watch on. It's actually going to be a parade of systems just blasting into parts of British Columbia here. Look at that. That's some tremendous moisture. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like a lot of it is making into Alberta. Maybe a little bit by the 21st here, but it's mostly spotty. And then another one blasting into the coast here. Now, as we look into southern Ontario and Quebec, we'll see these smaller systems move through right around the 22nd here. And then we start to see this upper level low trying to push into parts of Ontario by this time. We do start to see Alberta getting in on some of this heavier moisture as we cruise on through the 25th here. So if we just zoom out, high pressure is building into eastern Canada by this point, providing beautiful weather from Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland here. So look at that. Looking really nice, lining up. But look at this upper level low just off the coast of British Columbia. That's going to keep plowing this moisture well to the north into the east. Also, another cold front moving through parts of southern Ontario here. So you could see some severe weather as we get into the 26th, into the 27th. We'll keep an eye on it here. And then that's next system moving up into Hudson Bay here. But the west coast just stays active. This looks more indicative of wintertime. And here we go with Canadian rainfall amounts here. Starting off dry, but look at as we stretch through the 3rd and 4th week of September here, we're really going to start to get moisture along the Pacific coast here. Some areas upwards of 200 to 300 millimeters. Unfortunately, Alberta, you are one of the driest provinces, and that's not good for the wildfire situation. Look at here, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Western Ontario, 60 to 100 millimeters. A little bit drier here into parts of southern Quebec, but southern Ontario, yeah, 60, 80 millimeters. Some parts of central New Brunswick, close to 100 millimeters here over towards Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia as well. Temperature-wise, this is what it's shaping up to be the rest of the week. You can see with that coastal low, it's going to hold temperatures down into the low 70s, even some mid to upper 60s here into parts of Virginia. So that's pretty interesting. Some much needed rain, though. And as we continue through Thursday, September 18th here, look at the heat is on. Parts of southern Ohio getting into the lower 90s. That is pretty insane for this time of year. And then look at this. This is a surge of big-time warmth right up into parts of the Appalachians here. Mid to high 80s, approaching 90 in some areas. Interior Northeast, you're cooler. As we stretch on into Saturday here, September 20th, yeah, look at that. Yeah, there's a lot of upper 80s near 90 right around portions of the Ohio Valley here. Much cooler here in northern New England in the 60s into Sunday, the 21st. You can see a patch of 80s here into southern Ohio, but look at much of the Northeast into the mid-70s, which is beautiful weather into Monday as well. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, Upper Susquehanna River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania from Binghamton to Scranton. Look at this. So yeah, we're looking at Wednesday. It's going to be cloudy and cooler. Low 70s with those clouds. That coastal low bringing maybe a few chances of showers between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. But for the most part, it should be mostly just cloudy and dry. Now, we do start to burn off those clouds as that coastal low moves away Thursday, getting up towards the low 80s into Friday. A little bit cooler with a cool front moving through. Lower 70s into Saturday and Sunday as well, but some beautiful sunny skies. Plenty more weather to come Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, super thanks. You can smash that super thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone, share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.